Imagine waking up tomorrow and discovering that someone has secretly stolen 10 years of your life. Not your money, not your possessions, not your house. 10 years. Gone. Vanished. Stolen without your permission. Most people would be horrified. They would want answers. They would demand to know who took it. They would never stop thinking about it. But according to Seneca, something even worse is happening right now. Not to one person, to millions, every single day. And the terrifying part is that most people do not even notice it, because the thief does not wear a mask. The thief does not break into your home. The thief lives inside your routine, inside your habits, inside your excuses, inside the belief that there will always be more time later. Nearly 2,000 years ago, a Roman philosopher named Seneca looked around and noticed something strange about human beings. People acted as if time was endless. They protected their money. They protected their property. They protected their reputation. But they handed away their time without a second thought. And what he discovered about this behavior may completely change the way you look at your life. Because according to Seneca, the greatest tragedy is not dying too soon. The greatest tragedy is realizing too late that you never truly lived. The city of Rome was already awake. Merchants crowded the streets. Politicians rushed between meetings. Soldiers marched through busy roads. Servants carried messages from one side of the city to another. Everywhere Seneca looked, people seemed busy, incredibly busy. Everyone was rushing. Everyone was occupied. Everyone had something important to do. Yet Seneca noticed a disturbing pattern. Most of these people were not actually living. They were merely existing, moving from one distraction to another, one obligation to another, one meaningless pursuit to another. And the more he observed them, the more he realized something shocking. Being busy is not the same as living. Think about that. How many people spend their entire lives occupied but never fulfilled? They wake up, work, eat, sleep, repeat. Weeks become months, months become years, years become decades. Then one day they look back and wonder where all the time went. Seneca believed this happened because people misunderstood the value of time. They treated it as if it were renewable, as if more would always arrive, as if tomorrow was guaranteed. But time is different from every other possession you own. Lose money and you can earn more. Lose status and you can rebuild it. Lose opportunities and new ones may appear. But lose time and it never returns. Not a single second, not a single minute, not a single day. Once it leaves, it is gone forever. And yet people casually give it away. They waste hours on things they do not care about. They spend years chasing approval from people they do not even respect. They postpone their dreams, delay their goals, ignore what matters most, all because they assume there will always be more time later. Seneca thought this was one of the greatest illusions in human life, because later is never guaranteed. In fact, one of the most uncomfortable truths he ever wrote was this: we are not given a short life. We make it short. At first, that sounds harsh, but listen carefully. Seneca was not saying life lasts forever. He knew life was limited. What he meant was that people waste enormous portions of the time they do have. They spend years worrying, years procrastinating, years waiting for perfect conditions, years chasing things that ultimately do not matter. Then they blame life for being too short. Imagine someone receiving a fortune and immediately throwing most of it away. Most people would call that foolish. Yet according to Seneca, people do something similar with time every day. They receive the most valuable resource in existence, then spend it carelessly. The tragedy is not that life is short. The tragedy is that people fail to recognize its value until much of it is already gone. Seneca understood this better than most because he lived close to power. He advised emperors. He interacted with politicians. He observed wealthy elites. And what he discovered surprised him. Wealth did not solve the problem. Power did not solve the problem. Fame did not solve the problem. Rich people wasted time. Poor people wasted time. Powerful people wasted time. Ordinary people wasted time. The disease was universal because the problem was never external. It was psychological. Human beings naturally behave as if they have more time than they actually do. Think about how often people say, "I'll start next month. I'll do it next year. I'll focus on that later." There is still plenty of time. Those words sound harmless, but years can disappear inside those sentences. Entire lives can disappear inside those sentences. Seneca saw it happen constantly. A young man delays his ambitions. A middle-aged man delays his happiness. An older man delays his purpose. Everyone believes there will be another opportunity, another year, another chance. Then suddenly, life moves faster than expected. One birthday becomes another. One decade becomes another. And the future they kept waiting for quietly becomes the past. This realization terrified Seneca, not because death frightened him, but because unconscious living frightened him. He believed the worst outcome was not reaching the end of life. The worst outcome was reaching the end of life and realizing you were never fully present for it. Imagine standing at the end of your journey, looking backward, seeing years spent worrying about things that never happened, seeing dreams abandoned because of fear, seeing opportunities ignored because you assumed there would be more later, seeing how much time disappeared without intention. That image haunted Seneca, and perhaps it should haunt us a little too, because modern life has made this problem even worse. Today, distractions are everywhere. Every notification wants your attention. Every platform wants your time. Every advertisement wants your focus. Entire industries compete for the hours of your life, and most people never stop to ask a simple question. Is this how I want to spend the limited time I have? Seneca would have loved that question, because unlike most people, he constantly examined how he spent his days. Not because he wanted perfection, but because he understood something most people ignore. Your life is made of days. Lose enough days and you lose years. Lose enough years and eventually you lose a lifetime. That is why Seneca treated time almost like a sacred resource. He knew something that many people never learn until it is too late. Every morning you wake up, you are spending a currency you can never earn back. And whether you realize it or not, you are making investments with it. The question is not whether you are spending your time. The question is what you are spending it on. Most people never ask that question seriously. They drift. They react. They follow routines created by other people. And before they know it, another year has disappeared. Seneca believed this kind of unconscious living was one of the greatest dangers a person could face, because the years do not announce their departure. They leave quietly, one ordinary day at a time. And that brings us to the most unsettling thing Seneca ever realized about wasting time. It was not laziness. It was not distraction. It was not even procrastination. It was something much deeper, something so common that almost everyone experiences it. A mental trap that convinces people they have plenty of time left. And once that trap takes hold, entire decades can vanish before they even realize what happened. In the next part, we are going to uncover that trap. And when you see it, you may never look at your time the same way again. The trap Seneca warned about was not laziness. In fact, many of the people trapped by it were incredibly productive. They worked hard, stayed busy, filled their schedules, crossed tasks off endless lists. From the outside, they looked successful. But Seneca noticed something disturbing. A person can be busy every hour of the day and still waste their life. That is the trap. Because most people assume activity equals progress. If they are moving, they must be advancing. If they are busy, they must be living well. If their schedule is full, they must be making good use of their time. But Seneca disagreed. He believed one of the most dangerous questions a person can ignore is this: busy doing what? Think about it. A ship can travel thousands of miles in the wrong direction. Movement alone means nothing. Direction is everything. And yet millions of people spend years running without ever asking where they are actually going. Seneca saw this everywhere in Rome. Young men obsessed with status, politicians obsessed with power, merchants obsessed with wealth, citizens obsessed with entertainment. Everyone was chasing something. Yet very few stopped to ask whether what they were chasing was truly worth their life. Because that is the real price of everything. Not money, time. Every goal costs a piece of your life. Every commitment costs a piece of your life. Every distraction costs a piece of your life. And once paid, that price can never be refunded. Imagine walking through a marketplace carrying a bag filled with gold. Every decision requires a coin. Every conversation requires a coin. Every distraction requires a coin. Every hour requires a coin. Eventually, the bag becomes lighter. Eventually, it becomes empty. That is how life works, except the currency is time. And unlike gold, nobody knows how much remains. Some people have decades. Some have years. Some have far less than they imagine. Seneca believed remembering this truth changes everything. Because suddenly time stops feeling ordinary. Suddenly the hours become precious. Suddenly the days matter. Yet most people live as if they have an unlimited supply. That is why Seneca wrote one of his most famous observations. People carefully protect their property. They carefully protect their money. But they are strangely careless with their time. And honestly, not much has changed. Imagine someone asking to borrow $10,000. Most people would think carefully before agreeing. They would ask questions, consider risks, evaluate the situation. But ask for 3 hours of someone's day, and many people hand it over without hesitation. Another meeting, another distraction, another pointless argument, another endless scroll, another day spent doing things they never truly chose. Seneca found this fascinating. The thing people value most is often the thing they protect least. And this leads to a deeper question. Why do people waste so much time? Why do intelligent people postpone important goals? Why do capable people delay meaningful action? Why do people know what matters yet still fail to act? Seneca believed the answer was uncomfortable. Most people live as if they are immortal, not consciously. Deep down, they know life is finite. They know time is limited. They know death exists. Yet they behave as though there will always be another opportunity, another month, another year, another tomorrow. And because tomorrow feels guaranteed, today feels less important. This illusion quietly steals entire lives. A person wants to write a book. Next year, a person wants to start a business. Next year, a person wants to repair a relationship. Next year, a person wants to pursue a dream. Next year, the years keep passing. The dream remains waiting. And eventually, something frightening happens. The future they kept postponing arrives. Only now they have less time than before. Seneca watched this happen repeatedly. He saw people spend decades preparing to live, yet somehow never actually begin living. They were always getting ready, always planning, always waiting for ideal circumstances, always expecting life to start later. But later has a strange habit. It keeps moving, and the person chasing it never catches up. Think about how many people say, once I have more money, then I will be happy. Once I have more free time, then I will enjoy life. Once things settle down, then I will focus on what matters. Seneca would probably smile sadly at those statements, because life rarely settles down. New responsibilities appear, new challenges emerge, new obstacles arrive. Waiting for a perfect moment often means waiting forever. And this brings us to one of the most powerful lessons in all of Stoicism. The problem is not that life is short. The problem is that people spend too much of it asleep. Not physically asleep, mentally asleep, moving through routines without awareness, chasing goals they never questioned, following paths they never consciously chose, living according to habits instead of purpose. Seneca believed awareness changes everything. The moment a person becomes conscious of how they spend their time, their life begins to transform. Because now they start asking different questions. Is this worth my life? Is this worth my time? Is this worth my attention? Those questions are powerful because they expose reality. Many things that seem important suddenly lose their significance. Many distractions reveal themselves. Many habits become impossible to justify. And that can be uncomfortable. Because awareness forces honesty. It forces people to confront where their days are actually going. Most people avoid that examination. Seneca embraced it. Every evening he reflected on his day. What did he do well? What did he waste? What could he improve tomorrow? Not because he was obsessed with productivity, but because he understood something profound. A person who does not examine their life will slowly drift away from it, day by day, month by month, year by year, until one day they wake up wondering where everything went. And perhaps that is why Seneca's words still feel so powerful today. Because deep down, everyone senses the truth. Everyone knows time is moving. Everyone feels the years passing. Everyone notices how quickly life changes. The question is whether they choose to notice it now or later, because later comes with a cost. And in the final part of this story, we are going to explore the realization that changed everything for Seneca. A realization so powerful that it transformed the way he viewed every day of his life. And once you understand it, you may never waste time the same way again. There is a reason Seneca's words have survived for nearly 2,000 years. It is not because he discovered a productivity trick. It is not because he found a secret way to work harder. It is because he understood something about human nature that remains true today. something most people spend their entire lives trying not to think about: death. Not in a dark or depressing way, in a clarifying way. Because Seneca realized that almost every problem people have with time begins when they forget that their time is limited. Imagine for a moment that someone could tell you exactly how many days you have left. Not approximately, exactly. The number appears on a piece of paper. You open it, and suddenly you know. What would happen next? Would you spend 3 hours arguing online with strangers? Would you waste entire weekends doing things you do not even enjoy? Would you keep postponing the dream you have been delaying for years? Would you keep saying someday? Probably not, because the moment time becomes visible, priorities become clear. Seneca understood this. That is why he constantly reflected on mortality, not because he was obsessed with death, because he was obsessed with life. He knew that remembering life's limits gives value to life itself. Think about the things people treasure most: rare things, limited things, things that cannot be replaced. Time belongs at the top of that list, yet people often treat it as if it is infinite. They spend it carelessly, delay what matters, ignore what is meaningful, then act surprised when they discover how quickly the years disappear. Seneca wanted people to wake up before that happened. He wanted them to see what was happening while there was still time to change course. Because he noticed a heartbreaking pattern. Many people do not start living intentionally until they are forced to confront how much life has already passed. A person reaches 40 and wonders where their 20s went. A person reaches 50 and wonders why their dreams remain unfinished. A person reaches 60 and begins thinking about all the things they plan to do one day. Suddenly they realize something. One day has been quietly turning into today for decades, and many of those todays were spent waiting. Waiting for better conditions, waiting for confidence, waiting for certainty, waiting for permission, waiting for the perfect moment. But the perfect moment never arrived, because it was never supposed to. Life was happening the entire time. This realization changed the way Seneca approached every day. Instead of asking, "How long will I live?" he asked a different question: "How well am I living right now?" That shift is powerful, because nobody controls how many years they receive. But everyone has some influence over how they use the years they have. Seneca believed this was where true freedom begins, not in controlling the future, but in becoming intentional with the present. Imagine waking up tomorrow and treating your time like something valuable, not just saying it is valuable, actually acting as if it is. Imagine becoming more selective about where your attention goes. Imagine becoming more careful about who receives your energy. Imagine becoming more aware of how your days are being spent. Your life would begin changing immediately. Not because the world changed, because your awareness changed. And awareness is where transformation starts. This is why Seneca never focused only on avoiding wasted time. He focused on investing time wisely. There is a difference. Many people become obsessed with efficiency. Seneca was more interested in meaning. A person can spend every hour working and still waste their life. A person can stay busy every day and still feel empty. The goal is not simply to fill time. The goal is to fill it with things that matter, things that develop your character, things that strengthen your relationships, things that move you closer to the person you want to become, things that make you feel alive. Because at the end of life, people rarely regret spending too little time on distractions. They regret spending too much. They regret the conversations they never had, the opportunities they never took, the dreams they never pursued, the moments they never appreciated, the people they assumed would always be there. Seneca wanted people to recognize these truths before regret arrived, not after. That is why his message still feels urgent centuries later. Because every person listening to this video is experiencing the same thing right now. As these words are being spoken, time is moving. The minutes are passing. The hours are passing. The days are passing. Whether you notice them or not, whether you use them wisely or not, time continues moving forward, and that reality can feel frightening. But Seneca saw something beautiful in it too. The fact that life is limited is exactly what makes it precious. If time were endless, it would have no value. If tomorrow were guaranteed, today would not matter. The scarcity is what gives meaning to the gift. That is why Seneca did not want people to fear death. He wanted them to fear never truly living. There is a huge difference. One fear creates panic. The other creates purpose. One focuses on what you cannot control. The other focuses on what you can. And perhaps that is the most important lesson Seneca ever taught. The question is not how much time you have. The question is what you are doing with the time you have already been given. Because nobody knows how many chapters remain. Nobody knows how much sand is left in the hourglass. Nobody knows how many ordinary mornings they still have ahead of them. What we do know is this: today exists. This moment exists. This opportunity exists. And according to Seneca, that is enough. Enough to begin. Enough to change direction. Enough to stop drifting. Enough to start living more intentionally. The people who waste their lives are not always the lazy ones. Often, they are the ones who keep postponing life itself, waiting for a future that never arrives, chasing a tomorrow that keeps moving farther away, assuming there will always be more time. Seneca spent his life trying to warn people about that illusion, because he knew something many discovered too late. Life moves faster than you think, much faster. One day you are planning your future. The next, you are wondering where the years went. And when that day comes, the things that once seemed urgent often look insignificant. The money, the status, the opinions of strangers, the pointless distractions. Many of them fade into the background. What remains are the moments that mattered, the experiences, the relationships, the growth, the courage, the memories, the life you actually lived. That is what Seneca wanted people to protect. Not just their wealth, not just their possessions, their time, because time is life. And every day, whether we realize it or not, we are spending it. The question is whether we are spending it consciously, or whether we are letting it slip away unnoticed. Seneca's answer was simple: wake up, pay attention, stop assuming there will always be more time, and start treating today like the precious thing it already is. Because the greatest tragedy is not that life is short. The greatest tragedy is reaching the end and realizing you never truly lived it. If this message resonated with you, do not just move on to the next video and forget it. The mind remembers what it repeats. So subscribe now and join a community focused on becoming stronger, wiser, and more intentional every day. Your future self will thank you for the decision you make today.